Now, joining me today is Cindy Elliott, Director of Industry Solutions Commercial, and Robert Greenebaum, Solution Engineer. We have a lot of material to cover, so let's get started. Allow me to introduce you to my colleague, Cindy Elliott.
Thank you, Cherie. Looking forward to today's session as well. So thanks everyone for joining us today. As Cherie mentioned, organizations are facing massive disruptions, both in the public and private sectors. And despite established business continuity plans and procedures already in place, no organization could have been prepared for the magnitude of this crisis. In the first weeks, organizations were simply trying to ensure the safety and health of their employees and operations during the pandemic. But now as business stabilizes and we face an economic downturn, organizations are looking to sustain, to the best of their ability, the current business, wherever that is today and in whatever configuration is possible, which is going to be different for every business while not knowing the duration or depth of this crisis. And looking toward the future, there is no standard or universal model that organizations can follow. Recovery or reestablishing the business is going to be different for every organization, and it needs to be agile. Companies need to look for early indicators of which markets will open that are best suited to the resources they have available to them right then and there. Over the last few weeks and months, we have had the opportunity at Esri to work with organizations from across the business spectrum to support efforts related to business continuity, stabilizing operations, and to help organizations build their strategies to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Location has a key role in business continuity and recovery, and every organization in whatever state of the crisis they are in right now can use geography within their business resilience efforts to more effectively analyze their current operations gaps and capacities to keep the business up and running. Knowing the pressures that organizations are under to analyze and respond to unpredictable issues, and those issues are only going to continue to arise over the coming months, Esri has focused on these key business areas: workforce, facilities, market stability, and the supply network to develop easy to deploy templates and workflows and downloadable datasets that can deliver immediate insights across your organization. And being able to maintain the most up-to-date information and using ArcGIS Hub as a communications tool to keep internal and external stakeholders up to date. These can be deployed standalone or together, but the goal is to enable analysis to flow across your organization effortlessly. And then nowhere has COVID-19 been more disruptive than the supply network. And of course, we've seen this extensively across health organizations, food organizations, and all types of products and services that we're looking to have delivered. Never has there been such an event that has been so disruptive, that has impacted so much uncertainty at the same time everywhere. Like no one is immune from the fallout of COVID-19. And a lot of this is a result of disparate and out-of-sync data and organizational resources. And I wouldn't call what we're facing a supply network failure, but rather it's a supply network disruption of a magnitude that's unprecedented. And the limited or no transparency of the end-to-end network has really left organizations exposed to unnecessary network risks, especially as the crisis has unfolded across geographies and will continue to unfold. Location intelligence technology allows organizations to stabilize and recover their operations right now and to keep pace with these market shifts over the weeks and months to come. The ability to digitize their components and visualize dependencies across the network for the most up-to-date awareness, globally, like holistically across the globe, but also locally, even down to very specific site level understanding and analysis. Understand and react proactively to these emerging threats from COVID-19, coupled with other threats and incidents that might stem from weather, might even come from the other kind of incidents, traffic, road closures, border crossings, that type of information. ultimately being able to deliver interactive and dynamic dashboards to maintain communications with suppliers, customers, and staff, advising when resources or facilities are closed, what are alternative resources, etc., so that you keep the business run rate up and going. I wanted to share a quick story from General Motors and how they map and understand their supply chain disruptions. Even though the story dates back to prior to COVID-19, it's a great learning lesson for organizations. And as Cherie had mentioned in the handout, that PDF handout, there's a link to the full story. But for GM, understanding the geographic location of its supply network is essential to understanding how a particular incident or group of events could impact its supply chain. Paul Rossi states, having an understanding of what vehicles could be impacted by an event, which part numbers, and specifically which plants, really helps GM create an effective response. Rossi believes that location intelligence drives a market edge for GM. Part of the reason they believe this tool gives them a competitive advantage is because they are first to respond after incidents occurs. Paul claims that they're in a position to provide products to customers in the wake of an event ahead of the competitors. Location intelligence puts them in a position to protect the customers, Rossi says, being prepared to react and respond quickly, and also having the edge to be proactive when available allows them to protect the supply to the customers, both internally and externally. Now, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Robbie Grinnebaum. He's actually going to take us through some hands-on experiences of the software and the technology. Robbie?
Great, thank you, Cindy. Yeah, so first, I want to talk at a high level about the 4 steps we're going to utilize today when it comes to mapping our organizational assets with the virus and how we can share out that analysis. So step 1 is going to be to map the supply network elements and overlay that with the COVID-19 specifics. Today we're going to use case data. Step 2 is going to be visualizing that supply network, along with those assets, cases, and other threats. Then step 3 is going to be to assess the supply network dependencies and the flow of goods, both upstream and downstream. And then finally, how do we go about communicating those results with interactive maps and dashboards and mobile applications? First, we want to start with mapping our organizational assets, such as plants and suppliers. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on our plants and tier 1 and tier 2 facilities here. And then now that we have our organizational assets mapped, I'm going to go ahead and overlay the COVID-19 case data. So for this, we're going to utilize a layer from Johns Hopkins University that they make accessible within the ArcGIS platform. By using the interactive legend, we can identify areas that have seen the highest number of cases. So we're going to go ahead and filter out the top 2 categories for confirmed cases of COVID-19. From this, we can see that we have clusters in the Northeast around New York and Philadelphia, as well as in Boston and down in Miami. We'll also notice that as I zoomed in, the base map toggled to the lighter base map to make it a little easier to read some of those labels in the areas that we're interested in. Now let's take it a step further to better understand the facilities that are impacted. Starting off with our organizational assets, we can view our facilities by the current operational status. I can see which facilities are operating normally, which are threatened, and which are impacted. And I can go ahead and expand out that list to see the specific identifier for each of those facilities. Now I can go ahead and re-add the COVID-19 case data, as well as any other map data that might impact our business. So this could be hurricanes or earthquakes. And let's say there's data that we want to bring in that's not pre-baked into the application. I can go ahead and add in layers from several thousand authoritative mapping layer options. So I'm going to go ahead and search ArcGIS Online for COVID-specific data. And I can see that at the click of a button, I can add in many different authoritative mapping layers. Earlier, we saw that the highest concentration of COVID-19 cases was in the Northeast. Using the situation awareness widget, I can go ahead and draw a polygon around my area of concern. So I'm going to start off by starting below Washington, D.C., and go right around Boston and go back down the coast there. And then from here, I can quickly identify all of the assets within my organization that are going to be impacted by this event. We can see all of the plants and suppliers highlighted on the map, and then I can also filter down by asset type to highlight specific suppliers and plants. And then from here, I can go ahead and download a spreadsheet of all of my assets for further analysis. Using a link analysis with ArcGIS Insights, I can assess my organization's supply network from both a spatial and non-spatial viewpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle on the spatial view here, where we can see all of our assets and the flows and dependencies mapped here, where I can see my goods and how they move upstream and downstream from those different suppliers and plants. And then we can also view it from that non-spatial standpoint as well to see where those critical nodes are in our network. Let's use supplier 10 as an example. If this major node were to be impacted, it would affect plant production across 3 continents. You can see here on the map, just how widespread that impact would be if supplier 10 were to go down. We can add the spreadsheet that we downloaded from the previous map example as a summary table, and from here see more detail about those different suppliers. So let's say, supplier 116 is going to be impacted. What's the overall effect on my supply network going to be? So I'm going to go ahead and select supplier 116 here under tier 2 suppliers. And then we can see the map automatically zooms in to the geographic extent of the impact, as well as the link analysis table off to the side. We can use interactive dashboards to share out our findings to key stakeholders within our organization. In this example, we see that we have key metrics associated with each type of organizational asset. We have our tier 2 supplier information, tier 1, and plants. We can see metrics on inventory on hand, as well as average daily production. In addition, we can also see what percentage of the total business is going to be impacted based off of the inventory and daily production that we have here visualized. And I also have the ability to filter down to a specific asset. So let's say I want to go to supplier 42 here. I can have the dashboard filtered down to get the specific metrics associated to that asset. And we also have a list view as well that we can use to filter through the dashboard. These configurable maps and applications are designed to equip and empower you to respond to the pandemic, maintain business continuity, as well as to help reopen communities. We have several different maps and dashboards that are ready to go with the ArcGIS platform. Many of you are familiar with the Johns Hopkins University dashboard. We see it here, and we used a lot of that case data today in these examples. Also have an IHME dashboard where it shows the projected peaks of cases across different states, as well as configurable demographic infographics, where you can really start to assess the impact that this virus is going to have within different communities. And there's also a gallery for several more examples that we did not touch on today. Our business continuity and recovery offering will help you protect and stabilize and reestablish your organization in this time of uncertainty. In some of the previous webinars, we've touched on workflows pertaining to workforce capacity, facility status, business recovery. And today we're focused on supply network resiliency. And then I can go ahead and go to the landing page there where you'll find more information about some of the specific examples that we showed here today. And I also encourage you to check out our resources page where we have links to several different data sets and mapping examples showing what customers are doing today to help map and understand the impact that this virus is having on our country. So thank you for your time, and Cindy, back to you.
Great, Robbie. Thanks for sharing all the insights. And I think it's so important to, in addition to the maps and apps themselves to see the work in action. And what I thought it would be a really good time after having Robbie take us through that was to share another quick use case story, now one that's very specific to post-COVID life. This story comes to us from GeoDecisions. It's a division of Gannett Fleming. Gannett Fleming is a large engineering, architecture, and construction firm in the United States. They operate in thousands of sites with thousands of employees. And you see here this quote from Brendan: one of the most impactful things they can do for their business, right, is to understand and respond to unexpected circumstances related to tracking and understand the status of projects. And often the projects, and what you see in their dashboard here, was they've been able to overlay at a county level their employee density with the related projects and the related COVID. And what you're able to see very quickly and easily is where are they less exposed versus overexposed, but they can now more effectively make the decisions to shift resources and to manage the workforce safely, but also keep their projects up and running and productive to best suit their customer needs and expectations. So quickly to recap, location intelligence technology that you saw with Robbie was really the ability for organizations to quickly take action to digitize and visualize their global supply network and dependencies. And often this might be at a state level, at a country level, or global level. But you can do it at hyperlocal sites as well. And then be able to understand and react to emerging threats. And those threats now, with our fall season coming, our summer season coming, you could think about the emerging threats of additional inclement weather or other roadway conditions and such, and be able to see those in real time, deliver interactive dynamic dashboards so that you're communicating up and down your supply network with all of the right stakeholders and being kind of in a secure environment. And we think of that as the base, right? This ability to create a base digital framework of the supply network. Once this base is in place, many organizations continue to expand their capabilities around real-time data and bringing those real-time data layers in to this environment. So with ArcGIS analytics for IoT, what you have is the ability for organizations to integrate real-time data, connect to a variety of sensor types by configuring a feed that can quickly be used as a live map layer, integrating streaming data with historical data to better understand changes to systems over time, and then monitor those critical assets, get precise locations and insights of all the assets for a 24/7 visibility, and being able to extract out anomalies or noise versus all of the background data. Track dynamic assets that are both constantly changing locations, such as fleets with vehicles, aircraft, vessels, and others, as well as stationary assets such as weather and environmental monitoring sensors. Automatically creating trigger alerts, right, to act on events of interest in real time, display and share findings throughout the network with the help of dashboards, but gain that operational and strategic views to create efficiencies that save time and money, but also improve service levels for your customers. And finally, unlocking spatial insights. Having the ability to make more informed decisions with IoT analysis. Through these tools, you can access a range of powerful real-time and big data tools to analyze information from a variety of data feeds and sources, moving from descriptive to predictive analysis. Again, this is more kind of mature offering and solutions built on the foundation that Robbie covered in his demo just prior to this. Now that we're wrapping up, I'd like to hand the mouse and the microphone back over to my colleague, Cherie.
Thanks, Cindy. Just great presentation, Cindy and Robert. Thank you so much for this. Everyone, just a quick reminder, please submit any questions that may have come up for you in today's presentation. Place them into the question dialog box as shown earlier. Now, to learn more about business continuity and recovery resources and workflows that are available to your organization, please follow the link provided on this on the previous slide and in the handout uploaded to the console of the session. It will take you to our business continuity and recovery overview page. Please also take some time to review the last webinar in this series, Assess Business Risks and Disruptions. To register for the webinar, please find the webinar series link located on our business continuity and recovery overview page. And with that, we have some time for questions. The first one is for you, Robbie. What data do we need to get started, and in what format does it need to be?
Yeah, so at the very least, if you're going to map your organizational assets, we would want a spreadsheet with key attributes about those assets, and then some sort of geographic element about that data. So what that could be, latitude and longitude, or an address to get that onto the map.
Perfect, thank you.
And Robbie, I mean, it can come from almost any source too, right? Spreadsheets, some of the data layers that we were talking about from Esri, yeah.
Yeah, spreadsheets, pulling from other online data sources. We're also, database agnostic too. So depending on how you're housing your data, it can pretty seamlessly be brought in.
Cool. All right, Robbie, this one is also for you. Can you describe how to tailor or secure the dashboards for the appropriate users?
Yeah, through the ArcGIS platform, we have an identity-based sharing model. So you have the ability to control, who has access to each specific, mapping application and dashboard. Even the link analysis we showed in Insights can be shared out as a read-only view file there. And so you can choose, specific members of your organization have access to it, or specific groups within your organization, and it's all secured.
Awesome. Cindy, what products are needed to get started?
So I think what we were showing today is ArcGIS Online primarily, with some of the ArcGIS dashboard templates, and you can use as you mature and build your foundation more ArcGIS Pro and also ArcGIS Enterprise based on the complexity of the network. But what we really tried to look at today was the starting point and the foundation. And we didn't have a chance to show you. We can make sure we come back. It's in the handout, but there's also what we refer to as a business resilience template. It was the second portion of the demo that Robbie showed, and that's a downloadable template that really helps a user get started and build their first kind of business resilience framework. So that's what we would start with. And Robbie, did you want to add anything to that, or did I cover that pretty?
Yeah. No, you covered it pretty well. I would say in addition to using ArcGIS Online or Enterprise, we also recommend desktop for larger sets of data, as well as Insights for running that link analysis that we showed today.
Cool. And it looks like we have maybe enough time for a couple more questions. Robbie, this one is for you. What was the first viewer that you showed earlier? Was it the ArcGIS Online web map beta?
No, that was it's a current application template within ArcGIS Online. I believe it's called the Interactive Legend. And yeah, the main part of that viewer is to have that ability to have that legend where you can filter by different categories, like how we did with the COVID cases.
Okay. And then I think this is probably similar to that. They would like to know what you were doing with filtering on the symbology of the ranges in the legend. Maybe that's connected to the...
Yeah, that's part of the Interactive Legend template.
Okay. And we'll have one more. So are you currently working or partnering with other supply management solutions data vendors? And maybe Cindy or Robbie, either of you can answer this question. Or
yeah, I'll start with that.
Okay.
I'll start with that. So we are working, Esri is a partner, focused organization. So I don't know if there's one that's from Francisco. I don't know what one supply management solutions data you're talking about, but whether, as Robbie had mentioned, almost data can come from almost any location. If there's a lat long or a geographic context to it, we can bring it in to the system. We also work with a lot of other organizations, including SAP and Microsoft Power BI, that take our data and our maps and incorporate them into their applications. So it's a very kind of integratable application, both for data and map viewing.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy and Robbie, again. That's about all the time that we have for today, guys. Friendly reminder that this webinar has been recorded for you to watch again and share with colleagues on demand. And within just a few hours, you'll receive an email with a link to the recording. Also, last reminder to please feel free to download the PDF document that's located in the console of this session for your reference later. And that is today's webinar, but we'll remain open for about 2 minutes for you to leave any remaining questions. We will gather your questions and get back to you with answers individually. So take some time to drop any remaining thoughts and questions. And again, thank you for joining us.